Hello, Outposters. Damn, what's going on in the world? I'm doing a Monday night stream because everything is terrible. How are you doing, Sean?
Not too bad. I mean, my wife's not cheating on me, so that's a plus.
You behave yourself, or I'll slap you like Chris Rock at an award ceremony.
Man. Beat me down like a bad dog.
So, for those of you who those one of you in Ukraine who don't know about this because you have other things going on, Will Smith slaps Chris Rock at the Oscars, and I'm going to show you this. Oops, what? Already started on the sound. Sorry about that. But I'm going to show you this. So let me switch over the cameras. Now you've seen this, but I'm going to go ahead and let this run.
G.I. Jane 2, can't wait to see it. All right. That was a nice one. Okay. I'm out here. Richard.
Say, he thinks it's a joke. Wow. He absolutely thinks it's a joke until he whacks someone, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, walks back off.
Will Smith just smacked the out of me.
Will Smith just smacked the shit out of me. Yeah, this is when it got really tense.
Dude. It was a G.I. Jane joke.
Keep my wife's name out your mouth.
I'm going to, okay?
Wow. So that was it there.
I can't imagine how uncomfortable you would feel after that, you know, especially if you were trying to hold it together. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I'll give Chris Rock credit for not losing it or managing to continue on, but he's clearly he's shaken up a bit.
Oh, yeah, it rattled. Yeah.
Now after this, I got about 10 seconds here, and I'm going to send it back over here. And I don't know if there's much sound with this, but after this, 5, 4, 3. So you can see Will's being consoled. He's being talked to by Denzel. A lot of stuff going on. I think there's a longer one of that where he's kind of walking around. Other people are coming up to him. I think maybe Bradley Cooper. So the question becomes, so we had an argument internally, and I'm not going to call anybody out or anything like that. I'm not wanting to make things worse. I'm more interested about the reactions to this than I am about, because the question came up was this staged or not? And we wrote the story like this is clearly staged. I was like, is it clearly whatever? And that's where the argument began. And
because it was more of an opinion piece than it was a reporting piece,
which is fine.
Which is fine, of course. Yeah.
And from a journalism standpoint, I'm like, you know, I want to be very authentic with the things that we do. So I want to make sure that we are just delineating our opinion from fact. That's it.
Yeah.
But the question is, I mean, the opinion is not without merit.
Correct.
Is it staged? And I'm like, okay, if you're going to say it's staged, let's go down that road. Let's explore that for a second. If it's a staged thing, how do you define staged? I mean, who are the players involved? Who did this? Was it staged to do that specific thing, or was it an opportunity to make this happen, to make something happen that would draw attention? I look at it from who benefits. Well, clearly the Oscars would benefit from this.
Yeah, because the two principals certainly aren't going to benefit from it, unless they were paid, you know, $10 million each by, or something.
So what did the guy say the other day? Everything about the Oscars and everything about movies these days is made for other people in that room.
Yeah.
Right. So while Chris Rock may not benefit that much from audiences, he does get victim status.
which is
which
a
is
very
currency
high
in Hollywood.
Yeah,
right?
which is better than gold right now for the left coast.
In
for sure.
in that bubble, that's definitely currency. They'll try to work it out that Will Smith was a victim, and if it's real, we'll get into that later. But there is some merit to that.
A quick side tangent on that is it's hilarious that so Jada's the victim here, ostensibly, and Will Smith goes up there and defends his wife, and all of even a senator is like, oh, it's good to see a man defend his woman for once, and it's so funny.
I think John Voight said that too.
It's so funny to see now that toxic masculinity is a good thing. All of a sudden, it's just hilarious. Because if that had been
to me, that wasn't a man defending his wife.
Well,
that was
but
that's
the way
child who doesn't understand appropriateness, talking to people like adults.
Agreed.
Slapping a guy on stage like that is bizarre.
But that's how they're framing it, as he's up there defending his wife.
You're right. Yeah. Well, so again, that's. Let's try to be very concise and divvy up the pieces, right? So we got reactions, we've got whether it was staged, whether it was real, and how people react to this. So as far as whether it was staged or not, I gotta say, okay, well, if it's staged, who staged it? Is it possible after the fiasco with the red table discussion that Jada and Will cooked something up that Chris Rock was not involved in?
Well, how would they know that he was going to make a joke about her?
They heard it in the rehearsal. They didn't say shit. That's a weird thing, isn't it? That's a weird thing. So, but again, I wasn't at the rehearsal, and I know a lot of rehearsals, like a wedding rehearsal, it's like, okay, now you go up here, I'm going to say, dearly beloved, blah, 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 blah. Okay, you go up here, we're going to do this announcement. Chris Rock's going to come out, he's going to make this joke, he's going to say Will Smith joke, whatever. I don't know the circumstances, right? So was it like that, or did they do it word for word? Did he have all the
jokes maybe? Yeah, it might have been even an ad lib or something.
It could have been, and it wasn't a great joke.
No, it was not a joke. It referenced part of the reason from 30 years ago.
Well, yeah, it's not exactly timely, and secondly is that Jada Pinkett Smith has alopecia, which just makes your hair fall out. It's not a nice thing.
Yeah, but it grows back.
Maybe, but it's I don't know. It's like making fun of a kid losing their hair because of chemo treatment or something. It's just like there's nothing really funny about it, and there's nothing really. He says, well, it's a G.I. Jane joke. I was like, it's a G.I. Jane joke at her expense because of the shaved hair. We know what you meant.
Well, reportedly he did not know she had that as from a source from someone close to Rock.
Maybe, all of anything in all of this is possible. So you start going down these possible roads, and you start thinking, okay, so if it was this, that I look at it like a flow chart. If this, then this, then this, and pretty soon it's just it's the guy. The meme of the guy in the walls, and then Kennedy was shot by Martians, So, I'm really, I'm not clear on who was involved. The Oscars didn't seem to be involved, and at least in the short term and for ratings, they would have the most to gain.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And
everything to gain because they're dead.
Sadly, or for whatever reason, I still have no idea. Who the fuck won anything last night? Except for him winning Best Actor.
I did not win my money. The Best Picture was not the one I bet on. I cannot. And I told you yesterday I'd be shocked if I lost. I lost. I can't.
Which one was it?
It was the Coda or whatever. I bet on the gay cowboy one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's all I'm reading, and that's all I hear anybody talking about. You go to Fox News, and there's like 2 columns, 12 stories. Not a one of them is about the winners and losers.
Yeah, and that goes on to the point that if it's staged or real, Will Smith was a big loser on this because nobody's going to remember this for him winning. They're
No.
going to remember that he acted like that from now. I mean, that's it.
They acted like an ass.
Yeah, that's it. There's no like, oh, remember that he finally had his moment of glory, but
Do you
it's
think?
ruined.
Do you think if they let him keep the Oscar or if they take away the Oscar, will lend credence to whether it's staged or not? Like if they take away the Oscar, maybe it wasn't staged. If they let him keep it, maybe it was.
If that's the way it would play out, it would, yeah. But they've already said they're not going to revoke it. I was just reading a New York Post article about a bunch of them. They said that there'll probably be something happen, like they won't invite him back to present next year. Would be probably the the price he paid for it. But yeah, they've already said they already said, quote, we're not going to take this away from a black man after we didn't revoke Roman Polanski's and Woody Allen, which is a fair, I mean,
yeah, it's a fair point.
If you're going to let rapists and pedophiles
if you let white rapists and pedophiles keep it, you take it away for an open hand slap by a black guy, you're opening up a can of worms you don't want to deal with.
Yeah. And it is just, and it's just ridiculous if you're going to let those people keep it and then not him. Never mind the social justice aspect of it.
So that kind of blows my theory out of the water that it might be.
I mean, if they raise a big enough stink on Twitter, who knows? They might.
Well, there'll be a new stink by next weekend, so it won't really matter. Somebody will do some shit before.
The question is he going to be canceled over this? I don't think so.
No. So.
Oh,
we don't know. We can think of about 15 people that would have been involved or not involved in this thing. How it was set up. I mean, people are saying, "Oh, the way he dodged, it's clearly something he practiced." I'm like, he's a comedian. He's not in that many action movies. I don't.
And like I said before we started the stream, anybody that's been sitting absolutely calm and a wasp or a bee fly at their face, and the speed that you react to that, can't sit here and tell me that if you saw somebody's hand coming up, you would not flinch too, because
Yeah, he should have given him 2 for flinching.
Yeah.
But I mean that part I'm like going, it happened so fast, and you're like, it's like nobody would react like that. It's like, really, nobody would react like that in that situation. You're on stage of the Oscars. You're the host trying to tell jokes. You're an MC, and then somebody comes up and slaps you. That's just a normal way. This is just the same as the pub and bar down the street where you have your normal bar fight. This is the kind of situation you think is exactly the same, because I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't either. He's a. I mean, whether you like Chris Rock or not, he's a pro. He probably. His overwhelming instinct was to try to hold it together to put on a good show.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't see it as an Andy Kaufman-esque kind of thing.
No, I don't either.
Andy Kaufman would never let it get that awkward, just weird like that. I mean, you could cut. Yeah.
He would take it to a 10 levels.
Yeah, he would take it so far beyond it. Yeah, I love Lupita Nyong'o in the back going, should I get out of camera? What the hell is going on?
She should have pulled that Homer Simpson meme where she just backs into the bushes really slow.
I felt worse for her than anybody else. Okay, so let's say it's real. Real. Then, assuming that it's real, why do you think? I mean, it's the weird thing is that he starts laughing when he makes the joke, but you clearly see Jada is not happy.
Oh yeah, she's daggers from the eyes.
Yeah. So
and more angry at Will Smith for laughing than she was really at the joke.
So the camera cuts, and when it cuts back, that's when we see Will. So they cut to Chris Rock, and then he starts in, and then he goes, uh-oh, and that's when Smith is already walking up. So I'm guessing that Jada, leaned over and said, "You ought to do something about this. You know why you know what that joke is. Maybe explain the joke. Maybe he didn't know about G.I. Jane. I'm going to give him that one. I barely remember the movie myself.
We watched it anyway, yeah.
But so then I start digging in. I looking back on what's going on with Will Smith and his wife, if you want to call it that. His kids have gone full cult. I guess Jaden wore address to the Oscars.
Yeah,
And
he's a
all-
piece of work. All right.
Yeah. His wife brought him on this show and just basically said, "I'm going to cheat or I'm going to sleep with whoever I want. You nothing you can do about it. You're still going to stay married." And just
she admitted to having sex with their son's friend.
Yeah.
In their house.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
not only
it's
that,
bizarre how awful she is.
And months ago, Will Smith had to go under some kind of, I don't know, it was a cancer screening or something, like where they ran a camera up his butthole, and he had the whole thing, and he was like, I think it was on Instagram or maybe Twitter, and he was live streaming it, and his wife wasn't even there for it, and this was a serious thing, and you can see in it that he's, it's concerned him. Usually when you go in for this sort of thing, you're not. And,
well, I mean, you say that, I'm like, I don't live stream my colonoscopies. That's just bizarre.
Well, he wasn't, but he was like the whole lead up to it, and his
the lead up, not actually sitting there on the table.
No, he wasn't like trying to get an angle on.
Oh, that's cold.
Can you change that lighting? My butthole doesn't have the right lighting.
Yeah,
no, it was him before and after, and I guess it was a case of like, oh, go get your screening. Don't be like me or something.
Okay.
But his wife and I don't even think his kids are there. He's there with like some dudes in Florida that he probably played golf with once.
I don't know Will Smith. I don't know much about him. He's like my age.
He's from West Philadelphia, and he got into some trouble, and some things happened. He had to move in with his rich.
Is that what happened? Yeah.
Yeah,
that's a TV show. Sir.
He parlayed that into like I don't know, a TV show or something.
He's got talent. His kids don't. Jada pretty much owes her career to being married to him. And they treat him like dirt. They treat him like absolute dirt. Now, it's on him for taking it, I suppose.
Yeah.
I mean, he's freaking Will Smith. Does he think he can't get another lady that would treat him better?
I mean, the dude was one of the biggest, blockbuster stars there ever was in the 90s.
He just won the Oscar.
Yeah.
It's not like he's not still, doing well. I don't know. The more I dug into that whole cuck, and I told you off air, I said, I never heard of this cucking thing. And I'm like, everybody's calling him a cuck.
Yeah.
My understanding of cuck is it's a weird fetish.
There's two. Yeah. So there's.
I don't get the feeling he's enjoying any of this.
No. So like the current insult term of it is like somebody that's like that enjoys it. They want it, like that Jack Murphy dude. But then there's the real, traditional over hundreds of years, which is like you
just got cheated on.
Yeah,
I never thought of that as cuck. No, that's more just you just got cheated on. You just got screwed by your wife.
Well, it's like from some bird that like goes in and leaves its eggs in the place of the other, the cuckold or something.
Oh yeah, I see what you're saying.
So the term is like behind your back. And that a part of it is like everybody else knows it, but you too. That's kind of the thing.
He does know it.
Well, right. So
he has to take it, and I don't. I don't understand. I mean, like unwillingly, he doesn't seem to. But he's like, what has she got on him? Because everything I see is like he's always done relatively wholesome movies. He's done relatively. Yeah, he's not the bluest guy out there.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's just the whole thing is bizarre, and I wonder, between the last few years. Watching his kids just go bizarre on him, watching his wife just treat him like shit. If all of this if Chris Rock took all his frustrations in that one moment.
Yeah.
And
I got the feeling it was a case of she gave him that look, and then as he went up there, he worked himself up into it. And then it was like, you know what? I got to this is a way for me to regain some of my, my manhood, my credibility, whatever, Now, it's that old saying, I'm not going to say that he's henpecked, but there is chicken wire around his bed. You know what I mean?
Well, I will say she's a snake.
Oh, yeah.
And I would not be surprised if when she heard the joke the night before that she cooked it up with him. And that when he was laughing, it was like I missed my cue.
Yeah.
All right, I'm supposed to be mad here. And then he did his thing.
Yeah, that's why she really gave him the look. Because like, you idiot, this is when you're supposed to get mad.
If you want to say it's staged in that direction, I would probably believe it.
Yeah, I could buy that too.
Yeah. I don't think Chris Rock or the rest of the people around it were in on it.
Yeah.
But I will say, including us right now, everybody is jumping on and using it to their advantage.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, these are some opportunistic assholes out there. They're taking advantage of it. And I'll admit, I mean, I'm doing it on my YouTube channel right now. Something to talk to. I'm jumping on a trend. But I'm really, so we've talked about whether it is or isn't staged. If it isn't staged, we talk about why we think Will Smith may have acted that way given the past history and what a snake and a harpy and a freaking succubus his wife is, apparently. So now the reactions have been really interesting to me.
The most fascinating part has been
us as humans projecting ourselves into that moment is just fascinating to me, because I'm weaseling out on this. I'm like, is it staged? Is it not staged? Would I have done it? Would I have done it? I don't know. That's a world I can't even imagine.
I don't know. You legitimately don't know. I mean, you said you don't really have you don't know. So I don't think it's weaseling. Weaseling would be me, who I do have an opinion on it, but I would be like, no, I don't know.
I'm trying to come up with not just whether or not it was real or fake, but it's like, yeah, get up there, defend your wife. I'm like,
yeah,
I'm not sure I would do that in front of the Oscars like that. I would probably talk to him afterwards, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, you're going to commit a crime on film that you know.
Oh yeah, that's the dumbest reaction. Everybody's saying, yeah, well, you won't press charges. I guess I can't do anything about it. It's like, they only need you to press charges if they don't have any evidence.
Yeah.
We got the evidence. He did it in front of 18 billion people. So, you know
what? Somebody made a joke about that and said that there wasn't any charges pressed because there was no witnesses, because nobody watches the Oscars. I thought, man, I wished I'd thought that.
Well,
that's
that's not true, though. Everybody has watched this damn scene, haven't they? We've all watched it. That little scene has gotten more views combined across the world than the entire Oscars did. And I'm just fascinated. I'm like, all these YouTubers out there that like Tim Pool, he thinks it's staged.
Of course he does.
The Carl Benjamin, the podcast, he does not. Quartering, it does not, but he's vacillating back and forth.
That's what he does, though.
Nerdrotic, I think, thinks it's staged. I mean, they're all over the place, and they all are very certain.
Yeah, I mean, you can predict some of these guys, the way they're going to come down on this based on their audience and the level of the ratio of how much of their audience really likes Alex Jones goes up. Their belief in whether this is staged or not goes up in proportion to the amount of their audience that also are fans with Alex Jones.
Yeah, I mean,
no ragging on none of them for that.
No,
but it is what it is.
I do tend to err on the side of people are. We say people are not evil; they're just stupid. I think mostly that people are stupid and could not successfully pull something like this off on purpose. They would screw it up.
Yeah.
Because they're just I'm sorry, these are Hollywood actors. They can act, but they're not bright people.
Yeah, they're not very smart people. I think if a week passes, a week or two, and nothing has leaked out that gives it away, then you can say that it was real, because these idiots can't keep their mouth shut. No. Or somebody will say something and let the cat out of the bag one way or the other. And so if we don't hear nothing in a week or two, you could say, yeah, it was pretty good. You could say it was probably not staged.
Maybe. I know the Andy Kaufman. What was it? Lawler. It took him like 25 years, well after Andy had passed, before he finally admitted.
But he was a lot smarter than these kind of idiots, though.
I don't disagree, but
that's from back in the day. This, Kaufman was like a master at that sort of thing. The longer
it goes, the more devastating it'll be if they don't admit it.
Right, yeah. So that'll be why they'll either either somebody will let it out, like you said, somebody that was there at the rehearsal and they all laughed and patted each other on the back and no big deal. We'll say like, well, I was there and they didn't have a problem.
I don't think the circle would. If they want to do this with any side of success, there couldn't have been more than two or three people involved.
Yeah.
I really think that's the only way to pull something like that off.
Yeah, nobody. Yeah, there was no like before we start the show, folks in the audience and all you celebrities, we've got a planned event.
I have no doubt that the celebrities and everybody else were sitting there going, "What is happening?" They were.
You could tell by the awkward laugh, and then the, like they laughed at first, and they were like, "Oh, wait, what?" And then when he starts screaming, they were like, "This motherfucker's."
That speech is violence stuff. That's actual violence you just witnessed. Let me know if that still holds up for you.
Yeah, of course it don't. That only applies to like guys like me and you, not super rich left.
Yeah, and I mean, he's not going to get. Technically, he should be charged.
I agree. I mean, it was a straight up,
He won't be. I mean, if they haven't charged Alec Baldwin by now.
And if they did, the punishment would be like 2 hours of community service, or don't do it again.
That's the thing that probably irritates me the most is that nobody's going to do anything about it, and in the end, is it really worth it?
Not really. I mean, to Chris Rock's sense of satisfaction.
If Chris Rock wanted to do something about it, then they probably would do it. But if he doesn't care. I mean, I'll be honest with you. There are times I think in some small towns or stuff like that, two guys get in a fight and they say, "Okay, go sleep it off and shake hands. I don't want to deal with the paperwork," and send them on their way, right?
Yeah,
it's just,
or it's a ticket for brawling, Yeah. Unless you're in like a family relationship or you're married or something, that they don't. It's just
not usually done on one of these giant stages worldwide.
Yeah.
So I don't, I mean, in the end, that's all it is. It's like two guys got into an argument, one of them smacked him. I mean, really
somebody called somebody's wife ugly, and somebody took offense.
It's just, well, and so let's get into where do we go from here? Because whether it was staged or whether it was real, I don't see any good coming from any of this.
No, it's not. It's hurt. It certainly hurt both of them. Chris Rock, maybe not as bad, but he's still hurt from this because, there's a certain, have you heard the story about the making of the Justice League or whatever, or maybe the whatever, what's the dude that played Cyborg, and he asked Jeff Johns, is like, does Cyborg still have a penis? And Jeff Johns is like, who cares? What? And that dude was like, well, in the black community, believe me, they'll care. And I think this might be a case, Chris Rock, it might be a case where he's like lost cred to him, he thinks, or, his audience, but he might feel like, oh man, like there's some respect lost. And then on Will Smith's side,
he'll just have to console himself with his giant piles of money.
Right. And then on Will Smith's side, like I said, nobody's going to remember his Oscar win. They're going to remember him acting like a jackass. Nobody's going to care.
When nobody even the black community, I found it interesting. Some of the reactions were from blacks, like, "Yeah, that's how we roll," or "You're making us look like savages," and it's all a reaction about how other races will perceive blacks. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, "Oh, guys, you just don't understand so many other people. I don't see this as a referendum on your race. I see it as a referendum on Will Smith."
Yeah.
And just him. I don't look at this as like, I mean, I saw the jokes, oh, Oscars go black, you get black on black violence. I mean, it's a funny joke, but I mean, but it's a joke. I don't take that seriously. To me, this is Chris Rock telling a stupid joke, and this is Will Smith acting like an asshole.
And the thing that makes the joke so funny is the Oscars, insistence on the the diversity and stuff.
Yeah, but I don't see this as a result of that. I don't see the two. It's a funny coincidence. It's a funny joke.
Right. Of course, because most jokes are,
right.
Always,
I just want to be clear that the way I perceive it, and I think the way most people that are inclined to think the way I do is I see this as a Will Smith problem, a J.D. Pinkett
Absolutely.
problem, and a Chris Rock problem, not some black guy down the street that had nothing to do with any of this.
Yeah, it's
He's
definitely
got his own problems. He doesn't need to be involved in this.
Yeah, nobody saw that. I mean, I'm sure somebody did, but few people saw that and thought, "Oh no,
blacks do." That's what I'm saying. That's how they've reacted on both sides. Like it's bad or it's good, but it's all about how blacks are going to be perceived now. I'm like, well, maybe in Hollywood because they all think that way, but us normies out here, we don't. We say it's a Will Smith problem, not a black problem, and I think it's important to kind of say that.
Yeah, I know. I agree with you on there. I mean, it's really a Will Smith problem more than anything because he's the dude suffering from some, mental anguish, not just because of this, but this is an outburst from the things that
that's nearly a mental breakdown. And
it kind of probably is a cry for help.
I know he went to the party afterwards and he had fun. He put back up, these guys put back, they take on and put on their personas like we put on hats,
Yeah.
And I just wonder what's going to happen with him, and he may get blackballed by the industry. He may really screw his career,
Yeah.
And then what's going to happen to him and his family and all that kind of stuff? How that's going to work out?
I mean, he went from being an internet meme about being the sad cuck to now he's going to be the sad cuck that reacts violently because he couldn't handle a joke from a comedian that makes edgy jokes, at a place that traditionally pokes fun at the audience.
Well, and did he lose it, or did he lose it because his wife goaded him into it?
Well, he still reacted that way, whether or not. Now, of course, that's even if it was staged, it's going to be remembered as that one way or the other. He did it. Maybe if it was staged, it's even worse because then he's a phony. And what's worse than being a phony,
So, no, I agree. If he's a phony, it's even worse. But I don't know. I don't think he is. I don't think it is phony, but I do think it's a lot deeper than just a guy made a joke and a guy reacted. There's just the more I dig into it, it's like there's so many facets of weird shit going on. I mean, the stuff that happens in Hollywood is just bizarre.
To say that's putting it pretty mildly too.
God. So, what does this do to the industry, to the Oscars, to the industry, to celebrity, short term, long term? Let's start with short term. Do you think everybody's going to tune in the Oscars next year the way they would tune into a WWE match?
No, I don't think so.
Looking for the train wreck, maybe?
No, because everybody knows they'll just clamp down and they'll be like, all right, no jokes about anything unless it's like some dad joke or, like, why did the chicken cross the road? They're not going to like, hey, let's get Ricky Gervais next year. They're not going to do that. It'd be
smart to do that.
It would be very smart, but they're not going to. Not in
So
today.
you think they're going to make it even more boring?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. They're not going to risk something like that again. They're not going to risk.
They got everybody talking about it.
They did, but
I think they would risk anything if they thought it would get their numbers back up on the TV.
I mean, they might have Alec Baldwin come back next year to reenact his deadly shooting.
He comes out with a gun on his back. You just watch the audience go running for the exits.
Hold that camera still, I said. No, I don't know. I don't like. They might think it will cause people to watch next year, but I don't think people. I mean, it's a one-off kind of thing, But I don't know. They can parlay. It's weird because everything has ratcheted up so much in the last 3 or 4 years, right? Like the stuff with Bad Orange Man and the extremes they took. Like the Kathy, what's her face?
I do love CNN figuring out a way. Some weirdo nut woman on CNN figuring a way to say, "Well, this is Trump's fault." I'm like, Jesus Christ!
And that weirdo nut was Howard Stern.
It wasn't just Howard Stern. There was a lady on CNN that did it. Yeah, but I mean, they're starting to blame Trump for this. Like, what has he got to do with any of this?
Yeah.
God,
Orange Man
he's not president anymore. He
Don't
hasn't been
you-
president for over a year.
Jesus, dude, don't you know that Orange Man is bad?
He makes Will Smith slap Chris Rock apparently
Who-
a year and a half later.
It's like, Will Smith is Zelensky, and Chris Rock is is Orange Man bad.
So, okay, so because I think this will hasten celebrity and Oscars demise that I think has been happening here. I think this
Yeah, I
kind of
agree.
thing just will hasten it. I think people are kind of like, I'm tired of these tantrums. I am tired of these babies. I'm tired of these people who have, because when you start looking at all this stuff with Will Smith, it's like, geez, I'm not gonna be able. And I'm not sure how much I blame him or blame Jada, but all I know now is all this bullshit that I never wanted to know. And so if I watch Men in Black, I'm just gonna be like, oh, why am ugh, you know?
Yeah.
It's like trying to watch a Roman Polanski movie. I can't do it anymore, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm like going. If it accelerates all this, and long term it hastens Hollywood's demise, then this may be the slap that started the avalanche.
Yeah,
You know,
it could be.
I'm
It would be-
wondering.
Yeah. I mean, they're so without morals that, and if that dude Chato, if you take his word, and he seems to be dead on that, they just make stuff for themselves. They'll just keep, Aurora Borealis in themselves until, what's left. They're up there acting like complete jackasses just for them, just so they can, stroke each other off. And who's watching it?
I mean, it's clear that the Smiths have a very unhealthy relationship, right? And I think that's not just them. I think it's rampant across Hollywood. I think it's the culture to have these bizarre, they think they're, progressive and they're ahead of the curve, and all those yokels who just get married and have kids and only have sex with each other. Those weirdos, those losers. I mean, you can't keep going against human nature like this. And, it feels like, you got this whole pressure cooker, of all this behavior, and that people are getting hurt,
Yeah.
And this was one little burst of steam that came out that we could actually see. You can't see inside the pressure cooker, right? This one burst of steam come out, slap, and you kind of get an idea that this thing is going to blow if these guys don't get their acts together. You can't live like this, You can't. It comes out in public. You've got nothing but hanger-ons that try to protect you and shield you and tell you everything you do is fine. You don't have to face any consequences to your actions, and yet other people are getting hurt. And then something like this happens, and that's the itty bitty tip of the iceberg that you can see.
Yeah.
And there's all kinds of shit underneath that is just.
I mean, Harvey Weinstein went to jail, so they all can pat each other and say they did the right thing for once. Their sins have been
once
expelled.
it all came out, they couldn't help
Yeah.
it. They had
Right.
to. Then they turned
they
on
can-
him like a mother.
Congratulate themselves on cleaning up Hollywood. Going to have more women next year. They do these things that don't matter and think that that's getting them some sort of moral credibility back.
Well, I agree, and I just, again, I look at this. I'm trying to look at it, and I don't know if I'm saying things that aren't there or not, but I'm looking at this as a larger symptom, or a symptom of a much larger problem or a much larger situation that's going on in the entertainment industry. And if it wasn't Will Smith slapping Chris Rock, it probably would have been something else equally bizarre at some point in the near future. And at some, I mean, I think more and more people are just like going. I mean, I saw the whole thing with Amy Schumer and Wanda Sykes and somebody else that I had no idea who it was, and they all started screaming "gay, gay, gay, gay." It's like,
Yeah.
I can't believe how all these people with all this money can't afford the time to just read.
Or have somebody read to them that it's
Read to them and know
you
what the
can't-
hell they're talking.
you-
They're,
yeah.
they're reveling in their stupid. They're proud of their stupid.
Yeah, they are protesting a law that says that you can't teach third graders and below about men having anal sex with each other. That's what they're protest. They're groomers. They're all groomers, and it offends them. So the question, if you get that worked up about the ideal of not teaching kids about degenerate sex when they're in third grade or below, it's like, oh, you have to wait. You can't wait till they're fourth graders. But if you are so offended by that, you really got to ask yourself.
I mean, look at we'll get back to this whole environment, the whole pressure cooker of all the disgusting, nasty shit that is going on with each other, and they want to be accepted for every depraved, decadent thing that they do. They want that to be normalized. How you normalize that? You got to get to the kids,
Yeah.
So you lie about what it is, or you're just so lazy that you don't bother.
Which is a little bit of both.
Yeah, some of them are one way.
Yeah,
some
there's
are
some
the
that's
other
so
way.
lazy. Yeah,
Yeah.
one of their friends says, "Oh, did you hear about that new anti-gay law in Florida? Oh, that's so terrible." But that sounds just like something that governor down there would do.
And nobody in that bubble is going to let anything like a fact or reality pierce it
Yeah.
as much as they can. But reality is going to come sooner or later. And in this case, it came in a slap across Chris Rock's face.
Yeah,
I mean,
and he really didn't do it. The thing about it is
No,
he didn't really do anything wrong. It was just a comedian.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like he did it. It's
It was
a
a crap
long,
joke, but
it was
wasn't
a
the worst thing
yeah.
I've ever heard.
and it was in a venue that is famous for that sort of thing, right? I mean, everybody but them, of course, loved the Ricky Gervais thing. So Chris Rock hasn't got the balls to get up there and be that based, but there's a history of this, and suddenly I'm the one that she's the one that can't be picked on a little bit.
I'm waiting for Chris Rock's new best-selling book, The Day I Got Slapped at the Oscars.
Yeah,
It's going to parlay it into some sort of money-making thing. I mean, they all do this, so that's the problem. They don't have any compass. Everything's an opportunity to gain more fame and more money, and I mean, like, they're just empty. They're just empty people, and that's. I think the long term of this is that we are seeing or maybe we have been seeing it. This is just one that's really, clearly has stuck out above the rest. Is this complete and utter decline of Hollywood, the studios, the actors that are in it, all of that. I think it's going to implode. I think it's going to implode sooner than I thought.
I wonder how much of this kind of behavior out in the open has been driven by the fact that you've got even more morally bankrupt YouTubers that become, super famous and on TikTok and stuff, and they act worse than that. But that's where the kids are going, and I wonder how much of that is driven to making their publicists or PR people's like, listen, you got this guy making fun of a Japanese kid that hung himself in the suicide forest on YouTube, and the kids loved it. You got to be more edgy. I wonder how much of that is pressuring them to let their degenerate flag fly, so to speak. You know what I mean? Does that make any sense, or am I just
so to try to repeat back to you? You got all these kids that are taking eyes off them,
right?
That are doing all these crazy things, and so Hollywood, with all their money and all their ability to be a part of the establishment and get away with shit, is trying to get even more decadent and more weird to try to get eyes back on them.
Yeah, I think I'm wondering if that, because
so we're getting back into staged again, huh?
Yeah, well, no, maybe, but I think that an impulse, they might not be like, that's not good for my career. They're just like, book it. Just like, and this is kind of true. Trump normalized saying stuff that nobody would say at a rally or a campaign event any other time. I think we'd agree with that, right? Nobody ever stood up there normally would say stuff like bullshit, and he said fuck on one the other night.
I saw that.
So now you're seeing more politicians use the Trump model because, like,
I,
well,
I, I
we
feel
can
like
do that.
I feel like Trump is a natural reaction to what had been coming for a
I
while.
agree.
And
Right,
that there was a coarseness of society that had been happening for the last 20, 30 years, right?
right, but but just hold that thought because
He just latched onto it and wrote it.
yeah, and I agree. But once he did it, the other one saw that they can do it, and it doesn't end their career immediately.
He didn't make things any better.
Right. And I'm not
Absolutely.
I'm not trying to like shit on Trump here. I'm just saying the fact.
Hey,
Trump
he
showed.
he deserves some shitting on at times. I
Yeah.
think we don't need. Yes, he had some great policies. That doesn't mean I don't think he coarsened the society a little bit. I'd like to see the president acting like a dignified guy, and not sleeping with porn stars. I'm kind of weird that way.
Well, or on Twitter at 3:00 in the morning ranting.
Yeah, I mean,
but I think that he sort of like not. He sort of showed them that, like, well, if he can do it, we can do this, and they love it. So I think that with the YouTubers, they've kind of done the same thing. They've like shown that, like, well, that's not a career-ending thing because look at this, Logan Paul or whatever. So and that's where the kids are going now. So man, I'm not going to hold back anymore because it didn't hurt their career.
it's fun.
And of course.
It's a complex tapestry.
It's probably more than we've got time for.
It is funny, when you look back, like in the 50s, where women or married couples, I should say, had their beds separated whenever they showed them. You never saw a toilet. That continued in through the 70s at least. You just never saw any of this stuff. I get the feeling that all these people in Hollywood are acting like they're still under those constraints, like they're fighting against these constraints that were torn to shreds and burned long ago. I don't know what but they still act like they're being oppressed by the religious conservatives. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, they do. It's the same with the boomer generations in Congress. They still act like they're the hippies from the 1960s, fighting the man against the Vietnam War. It's like that was when they mattered. They were relevant. They did something that mattered, and they won't let it go. They love to kind of keep that fantasy that's what they're doing. They don't realize that they aren't the counterculture anymore.
No, they're the establishment.
The family that's got like the homeschooled kids and the wife goes out and picks the fresh eggs every morning, from their chickens. That's the real counterculture now. They just don't realize it yet.
I would say to be careful on your perceptions and your judgments on this whole incident, because I think there's a pile of shit going on here. I think there are definitely some interesting ideas about whether it was fake or not. I think there are merits to both arguments. I really do, and
I agree.
And looking at it as, how you would act in that situation, I guarantee you probably wouldn't. Because you haven't been in that situation, and you haven't been in that bubble, and you haven't been shaped by this narcissistic nonsense that they've been part of. And you haven't had the kind of money that they have, and you haven't been in these giant soirees and everything else. It is a world that we just don't get.
We've never been to Epstein Island,
right?
Until you walked a mile in a pedophile's shoes. Don't.
Well, just the rich, entitled elite that are protected, and then when you have things that are going on in Will Smith's family that I think we can all agree are just totally messed up and against human nature. I mean, we take our own life experiences and the way we handle ourselves in our day-to-day lives, we put ourselves in that situation, then we think we got it all figured out. I'm saying, no, you don't. I'm telling you don't. There's going to be more shit coming out, I think, on this in one form or another. Things are going to get weird, and it's. Or I could be wrong. I mean, it could all fizzle out in 3 days because somebody else jingles some shiny keys. But I don't know. This feels like to me like another example of the decline and the implosion of Hollywood and that whole group of people that it's going to fall apart on them, and they're not going to know what to do, and they're not going to know how to handle it.
Things have been accelerating. You've had this Me Too stuff, Harvey Weinstein. Then you've had the Alec Baldwin thing and this, and it seems like there's been a lot in the last few years to really.
Yeah, it's all piling up, and there's a lot of people like us who are going, you know what? Screw these people. I'll find something else to watch, or I'll watch old stuff somewhere else. I'll get out my DVD player, my Blu-ray player, but the hell with this stuff.
Yeah, nobody's going to. They really were able to buy themselves sort of some time with COVID, because that's like, oh, it's because of COVID that nobody's coming to see our shit. It's like, yeah, it's very convenient. It gives you a little lifeline for a little while. You can continue this, the Emperor's has those clothes stuff for another year or two, and maybe.
Well, I mean, Spider-Man proved that if you make a story that people want and you don't throw in piles of nonsense and current year stuff, people will go see it.
Yeah,
I think it was excellent. It earned a
they
lot.
Still, that's the thing. That's the tragedy, is there's enough people that know how to make something that really does is successful. But it's like Dune, for instance, is a great movie. Yeah. Licorice Pizza.
But then Timothy Chalamet comes to that. Dressed like a combination of a chiffon, debutante and a pile of toilet paper or something. I don't know. It was just. These people think they can live this nuts, and it will continue forever.
I mean, who says like, oh, I'm going to dress like this? You got
to be weirder and weirder and weirder to stand out, because it takes hard work to do it on merit, and you don't want to wait and have to wait for a lifetime to get your Lifetime Achievement Award. You want to get it while you're 27.
Yeah. And from what I've seen him, he's a pretty decent actor. He's
fine.
He could have just dressed like he had, some sense. And I would have maintained the respect I was starting to have for his ability. Last night when or this morning when I was like, oh God, man, this guy, what did Villeneuve see in this guy?
Well, that's just it. And I go, okay, you guys are all, trying to outdo each other with the edgy. And I think you're onto something where, you used to have TV and movies. That was it. 4 or 5 channels on TV, and you went to the movie house. Now you got to compete with a gazillion things. And not just all the streaming services and YouTube and all that kind of stuff, but then you got just... audio books and video games, computer games.
We're not, even us right now, we're not much of a threat, but we are I guess technically a competitor to the entertainment industry at this point, because we're trying to make content that somebody might watch where they could have been watching some crap on Disney Plus instead.
Yeah, I definitely want to make content as an entertainment journalist type of role that isn't lying to everybody or sucking the establishment's dick all the time.
Yeah, people appreciate that. When I started my first website, my rule when I started with my friend, I said, the way I want to do it to where we speak in a voice to our readers, to where they feel like we talk to them like we're friends, that we consider them a peer. Like, we're not going to talk to you like this is your first day on the subject. We're going to talk to you like we assume you're already at least on our level. And it worked. There was a lot of feedback real fast about, I really appreciate it's not like, oh, here's how you take your gun apart, the thing that the manual it comes with tells you, gun magazines, it's just crap like that, and if you talk to people like they've got sense and they're a peer, they respond to that really well, And that's the problem with Hollywood, though. They get up there and they lecture, or they talk to you like you're an idiot because they think you're an idiot.
Well, to a certain extent, some of these people do that because, like I said, I don't think actors are very bright, so they do what they're told in some ways by their publicists or by their agents, because that's what's gotten them money. And I don't think they realize what's coming. I think there's an implosion coming within the next 10 years on them. And I think these poor people are not going to know what hit them.
Yeah, Because there's going to be a time when China money isn't going to be there to prop them up anymore.
No, China can't keep doing what it's doing and expect to be a force. I've seen their empty cities. You can't waste resources like that and expect to keep going. Sooner or later, it's a truism. That which can't continue won't continue. The Soviet Union couldn't continue the way they were. They fell apart. China couldn't continue the way they are. They won't. I don't know how long. Could be 5 years. Could be 50 years. But sooner or later, it's going to implode because you can't run an economy like that, in which case none of that China money is going to come into Hollywood anymore.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, people are going to be tuning out. They're going to be canceling their subscriptions. Where's the money going to come from?
Yep. Yeah, they pander to China, the Chinese market, and that ain't going to be there much longer. I mean, what are they going to do? I mean, you had what's his name there, the dude that's in that DC series, and he's like apologizing to him because he called Taiwan, said Taiwan actually exists.
Oh yeah, John Cena. Yeah. I can never understand. That's my running joke. It's like I can never understand John Cena's dialogue because he has China's dick in his mouth all the time.
Talk about.
Yeah, I mean, that's just how can you sit there and say that kind of stuff when you know what they're doing to people over there? Or if you don't know what they're doing to people over there, then why don't you?
Yeah. Who doesn't at this point? Who over, 20 years old doesn't know, or hasn't at least been vaguely exposed?
Oh, believe me, people can be. They watch just what they want to watch. And they don't want to know anything about what's going on in the world, and to a certain extent, that's the way it should be. There should be people that can do that, and if the people that are doing the right thing, then it shouldn't matter. But now
I'm envious. I'm envious that I can't go through the world like that now without where I can just. It really is, isn't it?
Well, you know what? I mean, I'll take it back to this mess. I knew nothing about the whole Will Smith cuck thing. Nothing. It wasn't something that went across my radar because I try not to involve myself or look or care about Hollywood stars' personal lives. I really don't want to know about it because inevitably I'm going to hear some shit that I don't want to hear. And it's going to detract from my enjoyment of what they've made. And sure enough, now I know all this crap about Will Smith, and it's going to color anything I watch of his now.
Don't you wish we could be more like George and be like, oh, I don't know anything about their actors' politics? Every time he says it, I'm like, you son of a bitch. I'm so jealous.
every time I see Independence Day where he punches that alien in the face saying, welcome to Earth, I'm going to see Chris Rock's face over the alien every time now. I mean, it's just I mean, God damn it, it shouldn't be that way. I shouldn't have to think of that stuff. I should be able to enjoy the product without having to worry about all the politics or the bizarre personal lives of the people who made it. And that used to be a thing, and now they got to parade everything in front of us.
It's not too much to ask for, man. It
it's
really
like,
is.
Oh, you haven't been keeping up with my Instagram and Twitter feed. I'm going to go beat the shit out of Chris Rock on the Oscars because I need more look at me moments. Maybe that's plausible.
I mean, this is the reason Comicsgate is doing so well. This is why Ethan Van Sciver can make $1 million on a comic book. It's because these guys are like, none of our comic books are going to have anything to do with politics or topical worldly event. It's just going to be old, and people love it. That's what we wanted.
That's where I think it's going to go. I think more and more of these people are going to, as a alternative takes place and as it grows, they're going to need people, and the people in Hollywood say they're going to tap out. Anybody with sense or brains who doesn't want to bother with all this nonsense or feels like it's just a depraved nightmare,
Yeah.
I mean, even if you go back to before all the politics or the virtue signaling and everything, I still heard horror stories in the 90s. I think Jennifer Lopez and a few others who just were such divas about what was in their trailers and all that kind of stuff like that. I mean, just awful people. And, now there's some nice ones. I know there's some nice ones. I'm not saying all of them, but there was, it just seems to have devolved and devolved and devolved. And now they pretend they're so care about everything. They don't care about shit.
Yeah, they don't. It's just
as a father, and you are in a situation like that where it was very public, would you go up and smack somebody like that and embarrass your family?
I don't know if it's possible to embarrass his family even worse than they already
No,
are.
I'm just talking. I'm just talking you as
No, of course not.
Of course not. I mean, it's like a behavior that a grown adult with control over himself and a reasonable control over his life would never think of doing, because it's just so antithetical to, just living in a civilization.
If my wife looked like that because she was dying of cancer and Chris Rock knew she was dying of cancer, that might set me off to do something. It would have to be something like that for me to get that mad. Like right before the show, he's like, "Oh man, sorry your wife is dying of cancer." Yeah, thanks. And then he got up there and made a joke like that. Then that would probably make me mad enough to do that. But it would have to be something that extreme, not just a comedian, an edgy comedian that everybody knows is an edgy comedian.
I probably would do it after the show. I could go up to him, just punch him out. Nobody'd have to see it, right? But I mean, why do it? Because I know enough to know that if I did that during the show, I'm just going to make myself look like an ass. Yeah. And I don't want to give him that much more power. I mean, I think more than 5 minutes into the future, apparently none of these people do. And that's the thing I'm talking about. It's like children in adult skin suits.
Yeah. I don't think that Chris Rock was being malicious though in that joke.
No.
He was not trying to pick on her or rile, I'd heard somebody say that Chris Rock had made a few jabs at her back in 2016 when he hosted something.
Oh yeah, people are digging into every possible. They've become CSI, just digging through all this shit, trying to figure what's the motive. They had a history, and this. It's like a dude slapped another guy. Just let it go.
Yeah.
I mean, he says as he does an hour-long stream.
We spent an hour talking about this unimportant thing.
Yeah. So I mean, the fascinating parts for me is so many of the people's reactions and
Same here.
The various
anger over disagreement over it too is
I mean, I know this is what happened.
Or they're just straight up insulting you if you don't believe that if it staged. That's like, dude, who cares that much about whether
why do we think that it's? I mean, the Twitter narcissism and all this stuff. It's like, oh, they got it. I just watch all these hot takes. I'm like going, it's a day after. There's going to be more interviews coming out.
Yeah.
There's going to be more people talking. There's no way that Smith and Rock are not going to make some sort of interview or statement. I wouldn't be surprised to see if they stage a big hug with them, or something like that.
Go on Oprah and makeup and make out or something.
That they'll do this, and it'll be one of the most watched things ever because, I'm not gonna lie, and I'm ashamed of it, but I'd probably watch it.
Oh, I wouldn't watch it
because I got to see how this dumb thing plays out.
I won't watch it. I'll just watch the memes that are created from it on Instagram because that's kind of how I get my news anyway, from like this sort of thing. When it's like I don't really care, but the memes of it become great, and then if the memes are funny enough, then I'll like, okay, I got to find out what this is about.
They separated out a lot of the stuff. It wasn't during the main show anymore. I wonder how many of those people that won those awards, like, boy, we dodged a bullet on that one. Glad I didn't have to be in that awkward mess.
I'm glad they just give me mine.
I was kind of pissed that we weren't the main show. I'm okay with it now.
Yeah. It's like I keep thinking about that woman that was right behind Smith when the
Lupita Nyong'o. Like, what the hell? What do
frozen. I do? Yeah, she's like, oh, what do I do? It's so funny.
She definitely wanted the Simpsons her way back into the bush.
Yeah, she wanted to Homer Simpson right out of it. Or see her like raise her drink to block her face or something. Yeah.
She's the one I feel most sorry for in this whole mess.
Yeah.
She's just sitting there going, well, I just sit here, man.
It's funny. I'm surprised that hasn't become a meme. Just her face and react. I'm sure it will.
Oh, it has. Yeah. They're going on and on about it. Everybody's finding all the memes. The memes are great. Somebody did a riff on his Parents Just Don't Understand. They took, made the new lyrics for it.
I saw one where the guy's laying in bed, where the guy's thinking to himself, "It's like maybe it wasn't the guys in the neighborhood that was causing the trouble. maybe
it was Will Smith.
Yeah, it's like maybe he was the bad guy all along." Yeah.
Let me bring this up. Let me see if I can find some of these memes because I think we had put a few up.
Oh yes, there's many memes. I think like a dozen in chat. I think I shared a few even in the.
Oh yeah, so here I will transition. Yes. So we got this one, mostly peaceful Oscars. CNN reporting on most, and behind him is just the whack, confronting the man who slept with your wife, hearing someone joke about her hair. That's it. That's the one. It's the guy in the orange jacket going, no. And,
yeah.
Will Smith on a leash and held by Jada Pinkett.
That was a good one. Yeah.
Jussie Smollett claims to have been assaulted on the stage of the Oscars by an unidentified white man. That's a good one. So yeah, I mean, and this is gonna be a great meme crop this year, Zeke.
Oh yeah.
We should have a healthy crop of memes coming in.
Yeah, I can't believe how fast they whipped them up too.
I was going to read some of this also. Let me. There's a lot of comments on here. Why is even more?
Oh boy.
Let's go through some of these comments because I said
give them a little taste of what we had to endure all day.
Is it fake or real?
Yeah.
I don't see why it would be fake. First, couldn't they come up with something better? Second, how would this help ratings? If for next year, that is assuming people will tune in a year from now from this nothing incident, this will be forgotten in a couple of weeks at best. At the end of the day, I personally don't care and sadly wasn't surprised it happened. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Last day at the after party, he's running from the car, and is that Rock? Oh, Rock. Yeah. Okay, I get it. Cherry.
That's probably closest to the truth on that one.
Rick James hitting Charlie Murphy. That's good. I got in one little fight, and my mom got scared. She said, "You can't slap your wife because your wife's got no hair." The black on black violence. Yeah, that's cute. The face you make when you realize you could have punched Ricky Gervais twice and got away with it.
He did it so much better, though. I don't care what George says. Gervais is a genius when it comes to that sort of thing.
The incident bothers me. This is Hugh Mad. This incident bothers me because it itself and many of the reactions to it show how far into degeneracy society is.
Wait, easy there on the comments on this because some of the replies on this one get very spicy. So
I'm
okay.
I'm reading ahead. Don't worry.
Okay.
If you can't even maintain the fake decorum for the Oscars, I assume it to be real. Imagine what happens when society can barely keep the lights on anymore. I mean, that's a good point. If the Oscars are basically the same as the LA riots, then what the hell are we going to be in the normal? Let's see. This is the reply to that. This is the current theme of my life. I'm not saying I'm better than others, but modern society seems to be nosediving at an incredible rate. We seem to be aimed for the lowest common denominator while pushing illogical and nonsensical ideas. Ask yourself this: who was the best actress last night? Odds are you have to look it up. The artist always comes second at the Oscars, but this event pushes the art even lower. I said when we got out, it's like I have no idea who won Best Picture. I don't know who the actress is.
Yeah, I don't
know any of it. Let's see. Yeah, a lot of cuck stuff.
Yeah. I remember that. It gets very spicy and somewhat political, and some of those there's under that one. So
I'll tell you what, I will transition this back to just me, but I'll keep reading.
Yeah. You can skip.
I like this one. The first rule of Millionaire Celebrity Actor Fight Club is get everyone talking about Millionaire Celebrity Actor Fight Club. A second rule of Millionaire Celebrity Actor Fight Club is get everybody talking about Millionaire Celebrity Actor Fight Club.
That was a good comment. Who was that?
That was Dr. Steele. Well done,
That
sir.
was good. Good job. Good job. Well done.
I'm giving that an upvote. Breaking news: the ratings are in, and it is shocked to no one they're awful. The ratings for last night's show are the second lowest since Nielsen began tracking it in the 70s. Last year's Dawn ceremony is the only broadcast that had fewer viewers, and I'm guessing that it ticked up when Twitter probably went ballistic, and everybody went, "Well, wait, what's going on at the Oscars?" And started turning it on.
Yeah. If you could isolate that little bit after that, or the rest of it, it was probably dead in the water. Absolutely.
There is people on YouTube dissecting this scene like it's a Zapruder film. I don't know. I don't think Chris Rock and Will Smith
It hit
are
close to home.
sophisticated. Yeah. I don't think Chris Rock and Will Smith are sophisticated enough to pull an Andy Kaufman, so I think this was real. With that being said, I think Jada Pinkett looks hot with her head shaved. See, you were doing so well, and then you just torpedoed your entire...
Blew off his credibility with that last line.
He also had a thing for that bald chick from Star Trek: The Motion Picture.
Of
Oh,
course
okay.
yeah. Of course he
She
did.
was hot. I'll give her that. Cuck unit. Give me your cuck unit. The only reason why I think it's real is because of Smith's reaction when he sat down and started yelling. Plus, Jada didn't look very happy with the joke, even if Bill Gwilly was laughing it off at first. The reason why I might think it'd be fake is because the slap looked pretty awkward and weak, and two, if you were really that pissed, why wouldn't he have just punched him or at least waited until after the show to do so? I would say that if Rock sues Smith for assault, you know it's probably real, but even with all their Hollywood clout, it's not likely to happen with Two Boys from the Hood. I don't bother watching the Oscars anymore because I don't care, but I do wish I could have seen this live, but I guess that's kind of the point now, isn't it? Yeah. That was Longshanks. Renage says, the way Will Smith's eyes are watering and he is dropping the F-bomb and using awkward repetition leads me to believe that it could actually be real, like he's been under a lot of pressure lately.
Yeah, that's what sold me on it too, was that the same points. I was like, yeah, that's...
The joke was the final push button he couldn't absorb. Possible. Of course, the reply is he's expressed all those emotions before in movies.
Not that convincingly.
Yeah, Redditch replies, yeah, it's true. He can run the entire gamut of emotions from A to A.1.
That's good.
It's a bold move to stay with his wife publicly after it came out she'd been cucking him for years. I'm sure he's heard a lot of it.
Oh yeah. These guys are funny. Maybe they should be the ones doing the YouTube show tonight.
Hey man, I will take material any place I can get it. Yes. The way he was yelling after the slap seemed pretty legit. If it were a joke, I don't think he would have dropped the F-bomb twice. He also looked disheveled in that moment as well. If it were staged, then I think both parties would have laughed about it afterwards, let everyone in on the joke. But then again, the slap looked pretty awkward and weird. I do know that Rock changed his plans and didn't go to the after party because where Smith was. So
I don't know why they think that he wouldn't have an awkward slap. Like, these guys are phonies. They're not, trained real fighters or even all that experience probably. They probably haven't had a fist fight or anything since they were in, like, third grade. So I don't know why people would think that Will Smith should have some choreographed, John Wick move.
Renan's replied, I read that awkwardness of the slap as a guy who's trying to toe the line between tough and acting like it is a joke at the same time. But one thing for sure, G.I. Jane 2 probably just got greenlit.
Hey-o.
I think it's fake because he held his hands behind his back and stuck his face forward so he didn't flinch.
He leaned forward because he thought he was going to say something to him.
Unless Will Smith told him before the ceremony that if he talked shit about him or his wife, he's going to smack the taste out of his mouth, and Rock was waiting for the receipt when he did it anyway.
That's possible. That's it's within the realm of possibility.
I mean, anything's possible, I suppose, but I don't know.
I don't think it's likely, but it's possible.
Let's see.
I mean, if he planned it, wouldn't he have come up with a better joke?
Yeah, it was just that awkwardness was just
man,
so
that
cringy.
Amy Schumer talking about her vagina would have been funnier than that, and that's not funny at all.
Hollywood has been amping up the calls for violence for years, so it's no surprise to me. Put me in the camp that thinks it's legit, because Smith was laughing at the joke until he saw Jada wasn't.
He knew
I see people saying that as proof that it was and wasn't staged, and I'm like, going, okay, it can't be both. I don't know what to say.
I don't see how. No, to me, that is probably the biggest argument that it's real is the look she gave him, and he's like laughing. He's like, "Oh fuck, I'm never getting laid again if I don't do something." I don't.
Dr. Steele says the least watched Oscar show in history is suddenly the most talked about show in decades.
Yeah, these things happen this way, though.
Yeah, it's definitely the most since the La La Land debacle.
I mean, Archduke Ferdinand thought he was just going on a normal, car ride until he wasn't. You know?
Yep, we're just taking the Lusitania out for a little cruise. Hollywood is the Hollywood Moody one was the one that talked about amping up the calls for violence. Dr. Steele, most talked in decades. Hugh Mad replied, but those talking aren't going to tune in next year. This is just a big triple collar shit on any majesty the show once had.
I agree with that.
Coiler, excuse me. It adds a whole new spin to it. And Steele replies, probably not, but I suspect the ratings spiked between the slap and Will's acceptance speech. Yeah, I kind of think that too. I think when Twitter had a meltdown, everybody kind of do that. Winston Smith says, even if it was staged, it was done in poor taste. They may also realize ratings are in the tank, so pulling a Jerry Springer is a desperation move. Hugh replies, I don't understand the logic of doing it to try to regain interest in the Oscars. Is going from a dignified presentation as insufferable as it can be at times to the audience screaming, Jerry, 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 to maybe get a few 100,000 more eyes on the broadcast worth it? So, well, it generated a lot of attention, even if it was after the fact. As I said, desperate. I think we can. I think this is one of those we'll have to see what happens next year.
Yeah, that's the only. Yeah, we won't know till next year, and by then most people will have forgotten it.
I mean, if Will Smith isn't nominated, or if Will Smith and Chris Rock aren't going to be there, then I don't see any reason why anybody would watch.
Yeah, I mean, it's at this point, it's you got to watch hoping that two actors have a beef, and one, I don't see people being like, oh yeah, what are you gonna do? You could see that on any minute on any live television show anywhere. Nobody tunes in to to see, because it's such a bland thing. It's not like I don't know. It's not like watching these two gangster rappers from back in the 90s being in the same room. It's not that serious of a thing. If
you believe this is real, the likelihood that you also have the coronavirus vaccine is 100%.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think that's a bad, that's a bad take. I hate to say it. I
do like the superimposing Batman and Robin over Will Smith and Chris. Yeah, or bringing the old meme and then putting their faces on it. That's great. One guy says, if you clown on a dude's wife, this is Frodo, if you clown on a dude's wife, prepare to get socked in the face. The guy replies, yeah, there's a time and a place. This wasn't some barroom in Barstow, but the Oscars. The joke Chris Rock made was dumb, a little insensitive. And I mentioned the joke was made by Chris Rock, and it wasn't really an insult. Will and Jada could have easily approached Rock after the show about the joke, but no, Smith decided to walk up on stage during a worldwide broadcast during Hollywood's biggest night, quote unquote, and slap the comedian for a bad joke. As a performer, Smith knows that sometimes things don't land. Hey, he was in Wild Wild West, for God's sakes.
Hey, oh,
He should have been a professional and realized that there are bigger things than his ego at play and held his tongue until the show was over.
yeah.
And you replied, those were the actions of a man famous on the internet for being cucked by his wife. More like his wife is his beard.
Yeah, that's true. Will Smith is also allegedly good at playing a straight man. That would be argued. Some people argue that's his actual best performance, is he plays a straight man in real life.
I don't know. I mean, I know there's a lot of rumors. Like he nailed Margot Robbie, so like he's not like clean in this whole thing with his marriage, but I don't see him setting Jada down saying, I will screw whoever I want to screw and you have to take it either.
Yeah.
Just kind of scrolling through here. There's some interesting things I see.
What about oh no, is Harry Knowles? Didn't he leave a comment? I thought for sure that he would have something to say about.
I haven't
About
seen.
that.
I haven't seen it. There was a lot of back and forth on this. Some arguments that I don't want to go into.
Yeah, well, some of them get pretty very spicy. Too much for prime time, actually.
Somebody put a comment up here while we were talking. Let's see.
Oh man, why aren't they watching us instead of on there arguing with each other in the comments? They could be calling us stupid in the chat. What's wrong?
It looks like somebody just liked my comment. So okay, so there's a lot of back and forth, and people are saying it's absolutely fake. There's people saying it's absolutely real, and I mean, that's just me going, wow, it's funny how different people can see the same thing, come up with completely different reactions to it.
Yeah. The more content people have for Hollywood, the more inclined, and when I say content, I mean like drowning in it, the more inclined they are to immediately dismiss it as a con job. And I can't blame them. Everything now is a psyop. So I can't blame them. That's why I don't say like you're stupid if you think that's fake, because everything kind of is anymore. So very reasonable reaction, I think.
I agree. I mean, I don't think anybody who thinks it's fake is stupid about it or wrong.
No, I don't.
I am leaning towards it was real, but I don't know.
I wouldn't
honestly
bet money
don't
on
know.
it. Yeah, I would not bet money on it or anything like that, or stake my reputation on it. But I tend to think it was real. I think a lot of humiliation over the years, and his wife gave him that look, and I don't know.
I'm more interested in what this does to the broader culture, the industry, entertainment in general. These people that work in it and how awful they are. It'll be interesting over the course of time to see where. This is like one more grain of sand on this mess that's about ready to fall over, and I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if there's a rejection. Because things have been happening fast with their degeneracy, and it's building, and a lot of people are commenting on it.
I wonder how many people like me were like going, wait, Will Smith and Jada, what is going on with their marriage?
Yeah.
Learning about, because they got into this, and then they start seeing the word cuck everywhere along with it, and they start really digging in and finding out about all this stuff, and it's just like there's nobody clean in any of this. This is just a not nasty. I mean, it's you start reading. I did all these deep dives, started reading all this, and just like I'm just feeling icky. It's gross. Don't like it.
Ugh, the internet's wonderful, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I got that stuff on my porn site. Why do you got to put it on the Oscars?
Yeah, I don't come here. I go to the Oscars for something different than I go to porn sites.
Yeah.
Never shall the twain mix.
Well, I think we've solved absolutely nothing. So we have no conclusions here at all.
We've come full.
There's only one conclusion I can give it, that I don't see any good coming from this short term or long term.
Yeah, I think it's hurt Will Smith's career for sure.
Yeah, I think it's hurt the industry. I think it's hurt the Oscars. I know it hurt Chris Rock.
His dental
across
work,
the face.
probably. Yeah. Probably didn't do any good for the old ego either, I'm sure.
No, and sadly, there's a lot of people who are putting this on race and all that kind of stuff. They're bringing that into it. That ain't helping things. None of this is helping anything. It's just, it's one of those, like, the Oscars is kind of a uniquely American thing, and it's kind of like just another black eye for our culture.
It's turning into clown world. So
yeah,
this is what we should expect from clown world, especially when the clowns are the ones, it's directly involved in it.
It just saddens me. I mean, it used to be you watch the Oscars, and yeah, okay, they were people that had a lot more money, they had all this other stuff, but for the most part, it was kind of fun. You felt like they were trying to put on a show for America. And now it's just a bunch of children in a nursery that are well dressed.
When was the last time you even cared, like legit cared, that there was like one movie and you were like, man, I'd like to see that get Best Picture of the year?
Probably Lord of the Rings.
That long ago?
2003, yeah.
The Hobbit, not the Hobbit trilogy?
No. I mean, in the 90s and the 80s, certainly, there was a time, like Star Wars got nominated, right? There were movies that were E.T. got nominated. Those movies would never get nominated now. They got to nominate something that nobody sees, that makes them feel like they're above everybody. And even the ones that were more art housey kind of stuff, Amadeus or Chariots of Fire or Out of Africa, Gandhi. Yeah. I'm thinking some of these back in the 80s. I mean, a lot of people saw these movies. It wasn't just, they were, not exactly for the masses, but the masses much of the masses went and saw them.
Yeah, when there's quality shines its own light on it. It can't be sort of suppressed, and if it's good enough, it can't just be like, oh, here's this little niche movie we made about gay cowboys that nobody saw, but it speaks so much to the current. Shut up, nobody saw that.
I remember back in the day. You keep in mind. Let's talk about the 80s, right? What'd you have? You had TV, which barely had any channels. And you had movie theater. Video games, you may Atari or Nintendo, but it was really nothing like what it is now. Yeah. And you certainly didn't have the internet or anything else. And so when they announced the Oscars, they would re-release all these movies, and because people would actually go see them. And they felt like, not, of course, everybody, but a lot of people did, and a lot of people then would watch the Oscars, and they felt like they had some knowledge of who was getting nominated and that sort of thing. Part of it is that nobody bothers. Why should you? I can't keep up with all the crap I'm supposed to watch for this damn YouTube channel, right? And if you're going to edit videos and all that kind of stuff, it takes up a wide share of your time, and then I got a day job and all that, so it's nobody's bothering to see these movies. And so Oscars says, well, screw you then. We're going to pick the most bizarre, awful movies, and just the disconnection becomes more and more prominent. The divide becomes more and more prominent. And you go, okay,
yeah. I mean, so many years, the Best Picture is something that you forget about, and you if somebody's like, oh, that one bit, you're like, what, did it? I didn't even know it exists. The last movie that I can remember that won that won Best Picture that I saw,
Titanic.
No, was Whiplash.
Yeah, I never saw it either.
Yeah, it's not bad.
I've heard it's pretty good. I'm just kind of like,
it's not the kind of movie that you want to rewatch, but it's one of those that you watch it and it really surprises you on how engaged you are in it. You know what I mean? But it's not. It doesn't have rewatch value necessarily to me. You know what I mean?
Okay. No, I haven't really watched it, but
yeah. My taste in movies usually don't fall within the movie of the year.
With your Dawn of the Dead poster back there, perish the thought. I don't understand. Why is my resolution bizarre?
I don't know.
God damn it. I can't change it now. We're streaming.
It's too late now.
YouTube's. I just noticed YouTube's all pissed at me. Like,
Yeah,
why did this change? I didn't know.
Looks all right to me watching it on the other computer screen.
Okay, so you're our viewer.
Yeah. Me and somebody else. I don't know who the other person is. The sex bot, I guess, in chat.
Probably, yeah. Well, thank you very much, Sean, for joining me on this very impromptu stream. I don't know. I mean, I'll admit I'm jumping on the trend bandwagon, but I was fascinated by it. I found the whole thing interesting. And,
yeah, it was worth it.
It's obviously something that doesn't happen every day, and it was the only reason to talk about the Oscars. I was going to watch them. And try to talk about them, and I just couldn't bring myself. I was like, I'd rather watch this other movie or so. I ended up watching The Adam Project, which I quite liked.
I watched The Gentleman. It come on one of the movie channels, and I was like, oh, I like that movie. I really like Hugh Grant's performance in that movie. He's hilarious. That character's hilarious in that movie to me, and I like that, so I watched that again.
Yeah. I mean, so the one time I decided not to watch it, freaking
something happens,
something bizarre happens. I know I would have been like, what is happening?
Yeah.
But, what are you going to do? So,
it beats, you got to jump on something like this anyway. You wait till next, Sunday. It's gone. Nobody wants.
Yeah, nobody.
They're like, I don't want to talk about this anymore. I'm sick of it.
Oh yeah, we're gonna be sick of. To be honest with you, I'm almost already sick about it.
Yeah, the memes kind of ruined it for me. As entertaining as they are, it's still like, there's only so many of them you can look at before you're like, all right, enough.
Okay, this is the worst dad joke I ever heard, Eggy. If Jada Smith doesn't like jokes about alopecia, that's hair loss.
Is there a way to ban him out of that group again or something, or deactivate him or something?
He's asleep now. Let's wait till it really hurts.
Yeah. That was all. I saw that earlier and I was like, ugh. See, that's why George's jokes are much better.
Yes. All right, that's an hour and a half. I think we've drove this into the ground. So thank you very much for coming out. Thanks for talking to me about it, and hope you guys enjoyed it. Like I said, I don't think we solved anything, but just fun to talk about. So,
who else are you gonna listen to at 8:00 on a Monday night?
I would say probably anybody else.
Yeah, I got like 5
judging from the viewership, I would say anybody else.
Yeah.
But awesome. Well, we will talk again Sunday at noon. Looks like things may go well, so we'll see. Don't jinx it. Don't jinx it.
Oh yeah.
Don't jinx it.
I want to now though because the
minute you say something, we're gonna get screwed again. You know it.
Yeah, you're right. I better be a nice surprise, I guess.
Yes. So we'll see. We'll hopefully it'll be a nice surprise. And then we got some more stuff coming out. Hopefully this week. So thank you for joining, and we'll see you on the next stream.